In your Yarny Box kit, you'll find that the magic ring is already started for you. This is so that we can start off the project nice and easy and you don't have to worry about a complicated beginning. This is the very first round of the project. Here you'll see I'm pointing out the little V's. These are actually stitches, so you should be able to go around the circle and count 6 stitches or 6 V's. The stitches are what you're going to be working into in the next round in order to build on your project. You'll also find 2 stitch markers. This blue one here is marking the very first stitch of the round. That's where we're going to place the first stitch of the next round. The green stitch marker is marking the loop in which you're going to place your crochet hook to start working. You can see here that you can actually tighten and loosen this loop by pulling on the string that's attached to the ball of yarn. There are 2 different ways in which you can hold your crochet hook. This first way is like a knife. The second way is like a pencil. I personally find the pencil hold a little bit easier, but it's up to you. You can play around and hold your crochet hook however you'd like. Next, you're going to take the yarn that's attached to the ball of yarn and wrap it a couple times around your finger. And then I like to pinch the magic ring with my middle finger and thumb like this. Again, this is just how I like to work on my projects, but as you go along, you can play with how you want to hold everything. So you can remove the green stitch marker and pop in your crochet hook into that loop. You're going to want to tighten the loop to make it so that it's pretty tight on the crochet hook. Don't make it so tight that you can't move the crochet hook, but you definitely don't want it to be too loose. Something like this is appropriate. The trickiest part about learning how to crochet is learning how to hold everything in your hands. I definitely recommend rewatching the beginning of this video until you get the hang of holding everything. And if you accidentally undo your magic ring, I have a tutorial linked down below of how to redo that. So let's get started on round 2. We're going to start off by removing the blue stitch marker. You can pull on it a little bit and you'll find a little hole. That's exactly where we're going to be inserting our hook into to make the very first stitch of round 2. So once you pop out your stitch marker, you're going to insert your hook exactly where the stitch marker was. Before we insert a hook, I just want to make sure that you're holding your hook properly. So you want to make sure it's parallel to your body and make sure the hook is facing downwards. That's going to make it a lot easier to guide the yarn in and out of each stitch. So pop your hook into the stitch. Again, it looks like a V, so now you should have 3 little loops on your hook. Next, we are going to yarn over, which means we're grabbing the yarn with our crochet hook like this, and we are gliding the yarn through the first 2 little loops on our hook like so. And now we're going to do that again, so yarn over and pull the yarn through the 2 loops on your hook. This is called a single crochet. This is the first stitch of the round. Our next stitch is going in the exact same stitch that we were just in. So this stitch and not this stitch. We're going in the same hole that we were just in. So insert your hook into that little V, yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops like so. Now you have 2 loops left on your hook, so yarn over and pull through those 2 remaining loops. What we just did is called an increase because we popped 2 stitches into 1 stitch. Now you're going to count down 2 stitches away from the loop or the first stitch that we made, and you're going to mark it with a stitch marker. Next, we're going to make another single crochet in the next available stitch. So that's going to be this one here. Pop in your hook. There's 3 loops on your hook now. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. And then yarn over again and pull through those second 2 loops. That was 1 single crochet. Now we're going to make our second single crochet in the same exact hole. So in the same place we just were, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over again, pull through the second 2 loops. Again, this is called an increase because we placed 2 single crochets into 1 stitch. So now we have 4 new stitches, but we've only worked into 2 stitches from the previous round. So here I'm just pointing out with my thumb the 4 new stitches that we've done. Carrying on to the next stitch, we are going to make a single crochet. And now we're going to make a second single crochet in the exact same hole. Moving on to the next stitch. Again, here's your first single crochet. And here's your second single crochet in the same stitch. Again, popping your first single crochet in there and your second single crochet. And now we're moving on to the very last stitch of the round. 1 single crochet and 2 single crochets. That completes round 2. So because we placed 2 single crochets in each of the stitches of the previous round, we now have 12 little V's or 12 stitches in this round. So you should be able to go around and count 12 stitches. For round 3, we are going to begin by removing our stitch marker, and we are going to increase in every other stitch around the circle. So insert your hook and place 1 single crochet in the stitch where your stitch marker was. Just 1 is going in here, it's not an increase. So that's 1 single crochet, and then we are going to pause and mark this stitch. In the next stitch, we are going to make our increase. So place 2 single crochets in this stitch. So that's 1 and 2. Then in the next stitch, make 1 single crochet. And in the next stitch, make an increase. So working 2 single crochets in that same stitch. Then in the next stitch, make a single crochet, and then make an increase in the next stitch. Then single crochet and increase. And keep repeating this pattern of alternating between single crochets and increase until you get back to the stitch marker. Now that we've completed round 3, we should have 18 stitches in our circle here. For round 4, we are going to be increasing in every 3rd stitch around, which will give us a total of 24 stitches at the end of it. So begin round 4 by removing your stitch marker and placing your first single crochet of the round. Then mark that stitch with a stitch marker. In the next stitch, we are going to be placing another single crochet as well. Then in the next stitch, we are making an increase. So single crochet, single crochet, then make an increase. And keep repeating this pattern until you get back to the stitch marker. We are now coming up on the end of round 4 and we should have 24 stitches. For rounds 5 to 9, we are not increasing at all anymore. We are just doing 1 single crochet in every stitch around the circle. So I'll do the first round with you and then I will speed up the camera. Again, that's 5 rounds of just basic single crochet in every stitch around. So for round 5 here, we are going to make a single crochet and then mark that stitch. And now we are just going to single crochet in each stitch around. You should still have 24 stitches at the end of this round. For the next 4 rounds, we're doing the exact same thing. So I'm going to speed up the camera and I'll see you back once you've done 4 more rounds. We'll be going on to round 10 by the end of it. Before we carry on, I'm going to weave in my end here. So I'm going to take my yarn needle from my Yarny Box kit and weave on that middle piece onto the needle. This is going to secure that piece so that it doesn't come unraveled later on. To weave it on, I find it easier to bend the yarn in half and then kind of wiggle it onto the yarn needle. And then pull that center tight, and you're just going to poke the needle in and out of random holes in the bottom. I like to do this about 7 or 8 times just to make sure that it's super secure. So the body of the duck works a little bit different than regular amigurumi plushies. We are going to fasten off the body here and we are going to sew half of it shut up to about there. And then we are going to continue on with the head. So we're going to count out 6 stitches on one side so that we put a stitch marker in the middle and only sew half the body shut. So here I'm counting out 6 stitches. But it's technically 12 because we're using both sides. Just make sure that you leave 12 stitches in total unsewed for the head. So place a stitch marker there at the 6th stitch, but going across both sides. So there you can see this is where we're going to be doing the head, and you should have 12 stitches. So we're sewing this side shut and leaving this side open. We can now cut our yarn, leave a long tail about 10 inches or so for sewing, and then to fasten off, we're just going to pull the yarn through the loop that's there, and that's going to secure it all in place. And then grab your yarn needle and thread your yarn with it. To sew this shut, we are just poking the needle through both sides, just like so, and pull the yarn through, and that's going to create a whip stitch. Just make sure you sew through every stitch. And again, just be careful here of leaving 12 stitches open for the head. And once you've sewed that, you can remove your stitch marker. And I'm going to weave in my end just by going back through the body. In part 2, I'm going to show you guys how to make the wings, the bill, and sew the duck together, and then we will make the bucket hat for Dwight the duck. I'll see you there. It's linked down below.